Chip Tam in football. That's what Pittsburgh does. Presented by FanDuel. I'm Brian Batko, one of your Steelers beat writers from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Appreciate you finding the show today. As always, brought to you by Pella. No better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than from Pella. They can help you save on your energy costs year-round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella windows and doors to find the right product for your home and budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss your project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to Chicago this weekend. Steelers at Bears for the first time in 8 years. And joining me to discuss it will be Greg Gabriel, former NFL executive in a couple of different front offices. And now he has a podcast discussing the Bears. He's a good follow on social media as well. And I'm looking forward to getting Greg's perspective on this team, who Mike Tomlin acknowledged Tuesday really don't see them very often. You know, the NFL has these crossover games that take place now with the 17-game schedule, but they have not matched up with the Bears in the interim there. They just haven't fallen that way. It's been the Packers that the Steelers have seen more than anybody out of that NFC North division. So we've got to get into new head coach Ben Johnson, who I think is doing one of the best coaching jobs in the league to this point. Caleb Williams, the defense, how bad is it? Did they just play a brutal J.J. McCarthy, or are they getting better? We'll talk all that on the other side with Greg Gabriel. Don't go away. All right, there he is, Greg Gabriel, longtime NFL scout. He helped build the Bears for a while, and now he talks about the Bears now that he's on the dark side with us in the media world. You can find him on Gabriel Talks Football, Barroom Sports Network. How's it going, Greg?
Doing real good. How about you?
I'm doing great. We have different guests on this show every week, and it's always fun to get some different perspectives, different insights from former NFL exec like yourself. And it's also just good because, I mean, Mike Tomlin said this Tuesday, and I said it in the intro, Steelers and Bears don't come across each other too often. So what's kind
like
of
every 4 years or something like that?
Yeah, every 4 years, and they haven't had that crossover just yet since the 17th game. And it's been 8 years since the Steelers played in Chicago. So
right.
Unfamiliarity there. What's your early – we're recording this on Tuesday, and this will probably post on Wednesday or Thursday. But what's your early take on this game? Have you seen much of the Steelers this season? And what can you tell us about this Bears team that, is playing well right now? And I think maybe one of the surprises of the NFC North, if not the NFC at large.
Well, first, Pittsburgh. I haven't seen Pittsburgh that much, a little bit, but that's it. But I do have a huge amount of respect for the organization. Kevin Colbert was a good friend of mine for a long time. In fact, we started together in the business back in, full time. I worked part time for Buffalo for a number of years, but 84, Kevin was with Blesto and I was with National Scouting, and we were covering the same school. So we were with each other a lot. So
I had a feeling you'd have some stories from the old nitty gritty scouting days too to regale us with.
It's a lot different than it is now. We used to have to lug these big 16 millimeter Kodak projectors around and watch game on actual film, not digitized. But Mark Sadowski, who's an executive in the personnel department for the Steelers, was on my staff. I hired him maybe 04, 05, and is a good friend.
And Mark Vaughn brought him into Pittsburgh, yeah.
Right. And so, I've got friends with the organization. Mark Gorzak has been a friend for a long time, who's now retired. And I just always admired the Steeler teams. I mean, any team that can go through, this goes back to the late 70s that have only 3 coaches. That's freaking incredible.
Absolutely. And Mike Tomlin has been here since 07. This is the 20-year anniversary of that Super Bowl 05 team that had to go through the Bears in the regular season that year. They just celebrated that team a few weeks ago in Pittsburgh, and Ben Roethlisberger said he thought one of the galvanizing moments was Jerome Bettis running over Brian Urlacher. And he's like, no offense to Brian, I'm sure Brian doesn't remember that day very fondly, but that was kind of part of the lore of that team and that team doing it for the bus as well. And it actually just occurred to me, they're going to go through Detroit this regular season as well. So all sorts of opportunities to celebrate that Super Bowl XL team.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, I was with the Bears that year. So I after the 2010 season is when I stopped working for them. So, and I've got a consulting business now. Most of my work now is, you mentioned media, and I do some media, but most of my work now is with agents and who really want the same information that teams want.
Absolutely. I saw that, another player from that team, Antoine Randall, he's associate head coach or assistant head coach for the Bears now and
the wide receiver coach, and doing a great job. And I'll tell you, it was funny because he was at, I believe, Indiana. He went to school, and we brought him up for our local player workout the day he was, or the year he was coming out. He just said workout, jumped out. But, he was a quarterback in college, and you figured he'd be a receiver, but you didn't know for sure. And he's a player we wanted, but got taken by Pittsburgh before we had an opportunity to take him.
Yeah, I believe he's a third-round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we were thinking fourth round, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and then the epic touchdown pass in that Super Bowl win against the Seahawks. And now he's one of many guys from that team that has entered the coaching ranks. Larry Foote and Deshae Townsend are in the league, and a bunch of those guys are coaching at the high school and college level too. So we digress, but a good digression, because that team was a lot of fun. And at times this season, the 2025 Steelers haven't been much fun to watch for fans. But coming off a big win Sunday against the Bengals, righted the ship a little bit defensively. Even right now, we're probably not going to have much clarity on Aaron Rodgers under center, or whether it'll be Mason Rudolph. I think the NFL world at large, though, would love to see Rodgers against the Bears in Chicago for possibly the final time. What would you make of that storyline, Greg? You saw it.
I would think there is probably a few million Bears fans in Metro Chicago that would love Aaron Rodgers to play, and only for one reason. The last time he played here, they won the game, last minute win, and he turned to the crowd and basically did "I own you, dudes."
I remember.
That's it. And so I think there's some fans that would love to get a payback, because I know when word came out that he had a broken hand, might be questionable, there were people disappointed.
And yeah, I mean, rightfully so, because it's a lot juicier to have Aaron Rodgers in this game than Mason Rudolph. No offense to Mason, but
I know.
With Rodgers too, so you think it's more of they want another shot at him rather than dreading Big Brother coming to punk them one last time on what could be his farewell tour? The way they're playing,
I don't know how the players feel. And really, a lot of the last time he played in Chicago, probably 95% of this team wasn't even here. So it's more of a fan thing,
right, than
a player thing. This team, really, the transformation from last year in the last 3 years, really, in the Matt Eberflus years to this year with Ben Johnson, has just been dramatic. And Johnson, what's refreshing about Johnson is, and I've been around, I've worked with some really good coaches, worked with Dan Reeves, Bill Parcells, and I worked with Belichick when he was a coordinator. And Ben Johnson is just so refreshing. Yet at the same time, when he gets up in front of the media, he's very, very transparent. Now, I don't know, you'll probably have an opportunity to talk to him tomorrow, right? Don't you?
They don't really do that much anymore. That's kind of fallen by the wayside post-COVID.
Has it really?
Visiting coach conference calls. I mean, my first year on the beat was 2019, and they were pretty regular then. And
right,
ever since, those are getting more rare unless there's kind of a special circumstance. Like Rodgers did one with the Green Bay media a few weeks back. Maybe he'll chat with the Bears media if they ask for him.
But he's just, like I said, very transparent. He doesn't give you coach speak. He gives you honest answers. If player makes a mistake, a lot of coaches are very reluctant to say if a player makes a mistake. and say it in public. He'll say it right. He'll say it to the player and he'll say it to the media. And it's just refreshing to hear that. And at the same time, I think the players appreciate it.
Absolutely. I wonder if Rodgers will do a discount double check for old time's sake if he runs for a touchdown, because you don't need your left wrist to run for a touchdown.
So. No, but you got to take a snap with that left wrist.
And that's what Mike Tomlin said was, they're going to have to gauge him. And he said Friday would be the big day to kind of see where he is and get him some reps, obviously, to get ready for this game. But yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate timing for him with the injury. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like if the Steelers were playing at Atlanta or at Carolina this week, it would be a lot easier pill to swallow to maybe take a game and give it to Mason Rudolph. But hey, they are in the thick of it too, with the Ravens gaining on them. So it's dominated the airwaves in Pittsburgh this week, what the Steelers should do at quarterback with Rodgers healthy or potentially nursing this wrist injury, because Rudolph came in against the Bengals the other day and actually played pretty well and got them out of that game.
That's a player I followed him closely in college, and I thought he was going to be a lot better pro than he's been. He's had his moments, but he didn't click the way you thought he would when he came out and when he was originally drafted.
Yeah, well, he's had some ups and downs to say the least, but he's maybe a late bloomer here. Had his one year residence in Nashville, kind of like a country singer, and now he's back in Pittsburgh, and he's could be on the big stage this week. But all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's get into more of the 2025 Bears, especially
Sounds
Caleb
good.
Williams. I'm really intrigued to get your thoughts on him, Greg, and then probably ask you about this defense, because I think that's been kind of looked at by a lot of people as the Achilles heel of this team, but they're coming off a good performance against the Vikings. So we'll be right back to talk about that. All right, we're back on Chip Tam and Football, and a quick message from Goldberg, Persky, and White. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky, and White. For more than 40 years, their firms represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. Call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for free consultation. So tell me, Greg, Caleb Williams, he's a guy that, just me, I remember it'd be Saturday night before I'm covering a Steelers road game, and I'm in the hotel room watching him sling it for USC, thinking to myself, this guy can't miss. Like, as a sophomore, if he were draft eligible, he should be the guy. And then he's gone through some rocky times, both in college and last year as a rookie. With Chicago.
The second half of his final season, his junior year at USC, was not the best.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put it all on Caleb, because that USC team seemed to basically quit.
I was at one of those games. Night before the Steelers played the Rams, I was at USC, Utah, and the fans were miserable with Lincoln Riley.
Oh, I bet. And so, but anyway, he comes here and has to be brought into the league by a horrible coaching staff, and where he, really didn't learn anything. It didn't set him back in the fact that he was playing NFL teams, playing NFL defenses, and getting to know what those defenses do. But as far as learning and the growth he's had since Ben Johnson has come in, just, since January, and started working with Ben actually when the off-season program started in April, it's just been dramatic. And you've seen it in the course of the games, where he goes through progressions a lot better. He still has some inconsistency on the deep ball, which surprises me because he never missed a deep ball at USC. But in the NFL, he's had some trouble with that. But he makes some really, really good throws, and his ability to really feel the pass rush, and especially in the last 3 games, and escape what would be for 90% of the quarterbacks a sure sack, get out of it and make a throw, and sometimes a productive throw, is just amazing to me. And I don't want to, put overspin on it, but I think he's proven to be a guy that was worthy of that number 1 pick, and he's only going to get better. And you can see the growth within him as a person when he's talking to the media, when he's with the players, how the players respond to him. So it's really been a good sight to see during the course of this year, 10 games into the season.
And Mike Tomlin went on and on about that escapability, because that is no small thing this week against the Steelers with TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith. If he's back healthy, they didn't have to worry about Joe Flacco maneuvering around the pocket. But if Caleb Williams can extend plays, that could be sort of the counterpunch to what the Steelers bring from their pass rush in this game.
Yeah, he just has a knack, and especially if it's coming from the backside. It's like, how it's not that he sees it, he feels it. And that's just pure instinct.
The FanDuel odds on this one have the Bears at -2.5, but I'm even more intrigued by over-under of 44.5, because the way we're talking about Caleb Williams and the way the Bears defense has struggled at times this year, you think we could be in for a high-scoring affair, or are they maybe starting to figure out some answers and doing some problem solving on that side of the ball?
Well, in all honesty, I think it's a misnomer that some people think that the defense is weak. Mm-hmm. They give up some yards. They've given up some big plays. But when they have to come up big, I think they lead the league in turnovers.
And the Steelers are right up there too. They always are. So that's going to be a fighting fire with fire in this matchup.
I think they created 3 turnovers in the game this past week. They've only had one game all year when they didn't create a turnover. So that part's good. There's been flashes of not stopping the run, but when you have to, and they've had all these fourth quarter come from behind wins, and the final 2 or 3 series where the opponent has the ball, the defense has stopped them cold, and that's when you got to stop them.
Absolutely. Who's playing well right now on that side of the ball, and who's somebody that the Steelers could potentially try to get a mismatch against, even though right now the Steelers' offensive weapons are kind of DK Metcalf, the running backs, and then, sort of searching for that second option in the passing game?
Well, the Bears have been playing basically with a depleted secondary for a good part of the year. So 3 out of their top 4 corners have been hurt.
Yeah.
Good part of the season. One of them, the best one, may be back for this game. They just opened up the 21-day window for him last Friday. So we practiced last Friday. He'll practice this week. I think it's probably 50-50 because he missed 9 weeks. Will he be conditioned enough to play? That remains to be seen. I'm thinking he's probably going to play against Philly on Black Friday.
Yeah.
But he's been out. Kyler Gordon, who is a very good nickel, he's missed probably 6 games. He can come off IR this week. He had I think a groin pull or something.
Very good.
So that remains to be seen. So you've been playing really with one starting corner, and he's been hurt. Tyreek Stevenson, he's been in and out. He got hurt this past Sunday in the third quarter on a play. So whether he, we won't know till practice starts, whether he plays or is limited or whatever in practice this week. So that part has been, a weak point for the Bears, only because they haven't been playing at full strength. But the defensive line, where they're not getting a ton of sacks, they are getting a lot of pressures. And that's what helps create the turnovers. And the linebacking crew is pretty good. So, like I say, I think the defense is a little better than people give them credit for. And the offense can score points, but they beat themselves. It's not that the other team doesn't beat them. They beat themselves with some costly penalties at times, get into the red zone, and they're not finishing the drive. They're settling for 3 instead of getting 7. Things like that. But still, at the same time, they're scoring about 25 points a game. So, it hadn't been that bad.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll have to leave you with this, Greg. I mean, I can't, as a former personnel man in the league, I can't not ask you in Steelers Bears week, is Chase Claypool for a second-round pick one of the worst moves you've seen in your time? Because Joey Porter Jr. is in the Steelers starting lineup, and he ended up being the 32nd pick in that draft. And Chase Claypool, last we heard from him, I'm actually not sure where he is these days.
I couldn't tell you. Ryan Poles drastically outpaid for that. He probably could have got him for a fourth or a fifth. It was really his first trade as a GM. Probably all the Steelers liked him coming out. They took him in the second round. Probably, liked him because of that. What the traits were, it's what's up here that's the problem. And that's why he's not in the league right now, because the talent is a mess. In fact, when he was at Notre Dame, I thought he was going to be a hell of a pro.
When he was a rookie, I thought he was going to be a hell of a pro.
Yeah.
His rookie year with the Steelers, I said, this guy's going to be great. He's going to have a 10-year career here.
Right. But what's gone on since, I don't know. And there's people at Notre Dame that tell you after the fact, and that happens a lot with players after they're gone, is that, just not totally with it upstairs.
Yeah. Well, a lot of help that does after you send a second-round pick for him. And then,
well, hey, it was a few years ago. They made up for that when they traded the first round, the number one overall pick a year later to Carolina and got a big bundle for that. So,
absolutely. Yeah. They did some better maneuvering around the board in the years since. And it seemed like the Montez Sweat trade ended up being pretty well received by a lot of people too. Right. So
that's a player that's really come on in the last month. He played hurt most of last year, and the last month he's been a terror.
I think he was the first player mentioned by Tomlin at his Tuesday press briefing. And that's usually a pretty good sign of who he's circling at the top of the scouting report and who he's slapping up there on the video board in the team meeting room to show the left tackle or the right tackle who they're going to be dealing with all day on Sunday. But all right, Greg, was there anything else that you want to add, or do you want to tell people where they can find you before I let you go here?
Well, you can find me at GGabe Football on X. And, obviously I have my regular podcast called Gabriel Talks Football every Monday, which is on YouTube and all your major podcast platforms. But most of my work really is more behind the scenes, doing work for a bunch of different agent groups. So, and, a lot of people don't know I do that. People who are close to me do, but it's a fun little business and keeps me involved with the game really closely.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us here to talk Steelers Bears. Enjoy the game Sunday, and I'll certainly be following what you have to say. And thanks again for the time, Greg. All right.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.